All right, so if you're going for a level 4 on the assessment, go ahead and follow me along as I go through 11A, B, C, D, and E. So it's asking, so aqueous solutions of copper 2 nitrate and sodium bromide are mixed. You can assume that there is a precipitate formed based on our labs and things we've done. So to predict the products, the empirical formulas of the following chemical equation. So I encourage you can do it in whatever order you would like, but I'm going to choose the one that ends up being the first one that we see. So we're going to start out with copper. And I encourage you to also assign your charges. So we know that this is copper 2, so that's copper 2. If you look on the periodic, on your list of common ions, you'd find that nitrate is a -1. Here we've got, on the periodic table, you'd find that sodium is a +1 and bromide is a -1. Also looking at the periodic table. So then, if I know that I have a +2, remembering that +2s can only react or bond with a minus. It's not going to bond with a positive. So it would never ever be a positive and a positive. It's always going to be a positive and a negative. So if I have, looking further, we've got a positive and a negative, then we'd end up with a BR. Know that this BR is still a -1, but we've got a +2 here because that's where it indicates in the name. We've got a +2, -1, so that means I need to have 2 BRs to balance. So that number will tell us how many need of that, and that will number tell. So, and that we don't know yet if that's going to be the precipitate not. So we're not going to put these. You don't actually need to write those. That will come when you are trying to predict what's going on for letter D and letter E. So then moving further, we've got leftover. We've got sodium. We've got nitrate. So we've got sodium. So the metal will always go first. You got sodium. That is a +1, and we've got a -1. So then we end up with NaNO3. So those two are balanced. We got 1 to 1. So here is our ratio. We've got a copper to nitrate. Our ratio is a 1 to 2 because that whole thing is an ion. We've got Na to Br. That is a 1 to 1. Then we've got Cu, Br2. Then we've got Cu and Br. That is a 1 to 2. Then we've got sodium nitrate. We've got sodium and nitrate. That's a 1 to 1. So the name of these two products, remembering that we need to make sure we include that Roman numeral. So we're going to start with that copper 2. And if you want to look directly at the names, that will help you do your names instead of having to use your periodic table or having to go all the way back to your list of common ions. So we've got copper 2, and then we've got bromide. So we got copper 2 bromide, and then we end up with sodium nitrate. Those are your two products in this reaction. So then it says, based on the previous question and other practices in class, that is this one. This is the practice that I'm mentioning. Which of these products will most likely form a solid? Here is your hint. Your hint will also be on the assessment for what you need to hint. All nitrates are soluble. So if all the nitrates are soluble, meaning this one is soluble, then that would be you're choosing by choosing the one that is not soluble. If you know that one is soluble, the other one is not going to be soluble. So then by deducing it down to the fact that one is soluble, the other one will be insoluble, that ends up being copper 2 bromide. And so then for 11E, please use the following data table. So we're going to look at this data table. Does the data support your prediction of the formula of the solid? Why or why not? So then again, here are our two reactants here, similar to our test tube from number 10. We're going to have a similar 1 to 9, 1 to 4, 1 to 2, 1 to 1, etc., etc. But we need to make sure that we're going to follow to find what is actually going on here for, we find a volume of precipitate. So it is going to be 18. That has to match. Remember, this number right here needs to match that number of what our precipitate is. So you say yes. The data supports the prediction. because, I'll move up, the ratio of Cu to Br is 1 to 2. If you accidentally chose sodium nitrate as being your precipitate in this reaction, and then you still said that, so let's say you wrote sodium nitrate on here, and you said that this was not correct because the data support the prediction because the ratio of Na to NO3 is 1 to 1, so it would not work. That would be a 3.5. If the only thing you miss is the fact that you weren't able to predict the precipitate correctly, but you follow along with what happens here, you have a 3.5. So that would be, but this would be for a 4. You get everything correct, determine which one is going to be the precipitate, and also notice I will give you a hint on the assessment that you might end up with having a test tube that's different. That you might not necessarily have a test tube that follows along with what we've done in the study guide. You can, if I ended up, let's say this number was 20. And so this would be the number that would have the highest precipitate. So this would say, no, the data does not support the prediction because the ratio of CU-BR is 1 to 2, not 1 to 1. So just that's a little heads up for you. Hopefully this was helpful. Please email me, call me, send me a message on Remind, whatever you'd like. Hopefully that's helpful, and have a great day. See you very soon. Bye.